Hello, my beautiful fragrance family. Dustin here, Fragrance Fan. And before we get started, go ahead and do me a solid and click that like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you know every time I upload some new content. And for those of you who already support my channel, thank you guys so much for helping me with what I do, because I'm just going to keep on pressing out these budget-friendly reviews, that 40-ish and under dollar range, and a good number of those you're going to find for a lot less than that, and a good chunk of those you can pick up at your local rag stores. And the one I'm talking about today is no stranger whatsoever to the local rag store, and I'm talking about Guess 1981 Los Angeles. Look at the color of that beautiful amber juice. Isn't that beautiful? Wooden cap with some engraving on the top. You always see this thing there. It's in like a sunset color box, real similar to the amber. And yeah, it's 20 bucks all day long at the rag stores. And the atomizer is nothing special, but does its job just fine. So for being such a sweet fragrance, this has a fair amount of freshness going on. It's got plum, pepper, and bergamot up in the very top, and in the heart of this, there's ginger, mint, and geranium. In the base, you're going to get some sandalwood, vetiver, amber, and tobacco. So not one of these notes really pops out so much more than the other. There are some that are toned back a little bit, like the mint. There's not a whole lot of mint. The tobacco, there's not a whole lot of tobacco. It is there. If you know it's there and you're trying to smell it, especially in the dry down, you can start smelling the tobacco. The amber is very mild in this. But up top, you do get a fair amount of that bergamot, pepper, and the ginger, which gives a nice sparkle when it first starts off. And then as it dries down, it's a pretty linear fragrance. But as it dries down, as in pretty much every fragrance, the citrus wears off, it starts to die off first. It comes into more of just a straight up sweet fragrance with still a fair amount of fresh spiciness going on. This is compared often to Eros, to Versace's Eros, the Eau de Toilette, I believe. And it does share similarities, but that's more just like a sweet bubblegum bomb. Clubbing fragrance, very loud, not necessarily office friendly. I mean, you could if you just like 2 or 3 spray that thing, but it's a loud, sweet fragrance. The good thing about that is it gets a lot of compliments, and this falls in kind of the same ballpark as that. It's not a 1-to-1 whatsoever. It might share 65 or 70% of the same DNA as that, just like Oxford Blue. Oxford Blue is a little bit closer to Eros, whereas it's like sweeter and a little more polished than this, and this is a little bit more fresh, spicy than Eros. This is way more office friendly, still good, a good amount of compliments, because the performance on this is actually pretty solid. I will, on average, get at least 6 or 6.5 hours out of this. This isn't necessarily a summer fragrance, but since it isn't super loud and it's got a little bit of spiciness and freshness, you can wear this in the office if you're climate controlled in the summer days. But I wouldn't really recommend this if you're like a roofer or something and you work in Texas or Florida. This ain't gonna be so good. And it's a nice smelling fragrance. A little bit youthful because it's sweet, but it is pretty well rounded. It's not ultra synthetic. It's not going to burn your nose hairs off. It's a decent smelling fragrance. And even though it's pretty similar to Eros, I can give this a 7 out of 10 because it's only $20. Performance is great. Compliment levels are up there. You see the dent I put in this thing, and I live in Florida. We don't get that many cold days, so I wear this thing quite often because I enjoy it that much. It's pretty much worth the risk. I wouldn't say that fragrances are necessarily a safe blind buy, but this one is close to it. So you can roll the dice, pick this one up. There's a very good chance that you're gonna like the way that this thing smells. So that's my final thoughts on Guess 1981 Los Angeles. With that, I'm out. Y'all be blessed and take care of yourself always. Until next time.